something else from current events and applying it to the Dharma. So after the Senate acquitted Trump, I was reading some of the reactions in the paper to it, and there was this very nice, I think it was in the opinion section, or an op-ed section, somebody wrote this, and it reminded me so much of repaying the kindness of others, and how important that is, and how repaying the kindness of others isn't just when people are nice to me personally, and there's a personal connection, and so I should repay it. It's not just that, like that. It really goes beyond that, and to many people, whether we know their faces or don't know them or whatever. So I thought that I would read this to you, and it's. I found it really very, very touching, and especially poignant in terms of repaying the kindness. So the title is "Senators Applaud Eugene Goodman's Courage, Yet Fail to Show Any Themselves." So Eugene Goodman was the police officer who directed the rioters away from the Senate when they were chasing him. He also made sure that Mitt Romney got back into a safe place and deflected the rioters from going near the room where Vice President Pence was. Yeah, and so during the trial, the Senate, thing of the impeachment, he was in there one day because he was also providing security during that, and they asked him to stand up, and they said what he did, and then the whole Senate stood up and applauded him. Okay, and that was very nice. It was good that he got that acknowledgement. But then, as we know, when it came to voting and holding somebody accountable for, there were many, many factors that went into the riot and assault on the Capitol on January 6th. But, in terms of holding people who incited it responsible, many of the senators, there were 57 for and so 43 against conviction. So those 43 they just, kind of said, well, we can't convict, and so let's just forget about it, forget that kind of attitude. So here's what this opinion writer said. On Friday, senators recognized Capitol Police Officer Eugene Goodman's courage and gave him a standing ovation for risking his own life to save theirs on January 6th. Because some of the videos that they showed during the impeachment made very clear just how close it came for the vice president and all the senators and House people who were all there together, for, how close it was for the mob, that it came for the mob finding them. And the mob was shouting, hang Pence, and looking for Nancy Pelosi. And if they had found any of these people or the Congress people, it would have been a bloody mess, quite literally. Okay? So Eugene Goodman was very instrumental, as were all the other police officers there whose names we don't know, and one of whom got killed in the line of duty protecting the Capitol. So a day later, when it came time for the senators themselves To show courage, however, they folded and acquitted former President Donald Trump in a 57-43 vote. 57 members voted guilty, but the tally fell 10 votes short of the two-thirds majority required for conviction. The audacity. Trump stoked his followers to storm the Capitol January 6th, and then twiddled his thumbs as he watched the seat of our representative democracy under siege. He dragged his feet as men and women inside the Capitol sprang to theirs in fear. Many lawmakers were left to fend for themselves against a mob that made it clear it intended to show them no mercy. So that's another thing that came out in the trial, that he was, the president was very aware of what was going on and did not act to stop it immediately. And when he did, it was a very strange way to stop it, because he reaffirmed the cause of it to start with and then said, go home. But mercy they did receive in the form of valiant police officers like Goodman. When he saw that the door to the Senate chamber had not yet been secured, he knew everyone inside was in danger. Did he ignore the foreseeable violence and save himself? No. He lured the insurrectionists away from the chamber at the risk of his own personal safety, because they were chasing him. As a public servant, he made a choice not to save his own hide. When Goodman saw Senator Mitt Romney seeking refuge, he did not first confirm his political orientation. While members of Congress were told to remove their pins so that they would be less likely to be identified, the valiant officers remained in uniform, vulnerable to a raging crowd that belittled, disparaged, and insulted many of them. When we heard audio recordings during the trial of the officers' desperate dispatch calls for reinforcement, it was clear they knew they were the Capitol's last line of defense. And so we could listen to their calls and really hear the desperation in their voices. But when the senators had the chance to serve as the last line of defense against Trump's attack on our democracy, many of them sat on their hands, lifting them only to plug their ears and cover their eyes to the evidence before them. The indifference that some of the senators displayed throughout the trial is unconscionable in light of the personal sacrifices that law enforcement made on their behalf. 140 officers were also injured. One is losing his eye, one has spinal damage, one has brain damage. They were out there and they got hurt. Okay, so the senators' refusal to act as unbiased jurors is antithetical to the Constitution, to public service, and to our democracy. And in fact, 3 of the senators who were to be impartial jurists went and talked to the defense attorneys and gave them tips on how to present the defense. Imagine if law enforcement had done what was easy rather than what was right, or if they hid behind a flimsy claim that they lacked any jurisdiction to act. These officers upheld their oaths to serve and protect. They served their mission: protect the Congress, its members, employees, visitors, and facilities, so it can fulfill its constitutional and legislative responsibilities in a safe, secure, and open environment. That's what they had pledged to do. They tried to protect Congress so it would fulfill its constitutional responsibilities, only for that Congress to shirk those responsibilities for the sake of political expediency. And to what end? Trump not only lost the 2020 election, he also caused his party to lose control of both the House and the Senate before he put the lives of Republican members of Congress at risk for the sake of his, and Democratic members of Congress too, at risk for the sake of his own deluded refusal to accept defeat. The next time the Senate has a choice, do American democracy a favor. Stand for something, not just an ovation, for somebody who actually did his job. So I found that very powerful, because really seeing the kindness of the officers, how they put themselves at risk, watching the videos and just imagining the kind of fear that they felt for their own personal safety, as well as for the Capitol and the people in the Capitol, because they knew that they were the ones who were the last line of defense, before the mob could get into anything. So it could have been a whole lot worse. And then seeing that when you see the kindness of people like that, and I also watched the memorial service for Officer Sicknick, who died, and they had the whole Capitol Police, the Metropolitan Police out there, everybody standing in order, the President and Vice President and Speaker of the House and the majority and minority leaders of the Senate were there. It was a very solemn ceremony. And, to think of what those people did, not only to save lives, but to save democracy. And then, how we have, seeing their kindness, we have a responsibility to repay their kindness in some way. So the senators had an opportunity to do that. They blew it. But, the rest of us citizens should also be quite aware of the kindness of the officers and to do what we can to preserve democracy and preserve peace and equality in the country. Because those are values we hold as Buddhists. Doesn't matter, this is a human thing. Everybody in this country, at least through their mouth, states those values. Not always through their actions, but we should do not only through our mouths, but through our actions as well.